I'm an agent, I'm a financial planner, and I'm interviewing other agents. Give me your sales pitch. Why should I work with Ben Moss?
Yeah, well, at this point, my sales pitch is a little easier than when I was starting out because Compass, people have heard of that. I'm the national director of the sports entertainment division. I have, over 600 and counting, relationships and athletes. I'm have a lot of sales production. So I have like all these things that kind of stack up. I think in the beginning, it's more, as someone trying to break into that field, it's more just being there, being authentic and showing them, hey, look, I'm willing to follow up with you. So one of the business managers who finally, accepted my lunch invitation, he said, man, one thing I respect about you, Ben, is like, you just don't give up. Like, you've been after me for years. And I wasn't obnoxious about it, like every week, or I wasn't like laying down the guilt, making him feel bad about it. It was just more like, hey man, I'm still here. I'm still here. This is what I do, like showing consistency, and I think that's a lot of what it is. And so, once they develop the trust, they don't care what your sales numbers are. They don't care if you've done 1 deal or 100 deals. I mean, of course they want to make sure that you know what you're doing, but if you are authentic, if you're consistent, if they can trust you, then that's going to happen. There's no way they're going to hand over that level of relationship and refer their clients unless there's 100% trust.
I think the coolest part, click on the little sandwich button, scroll down, you can see your members, all the events, but the mini master classes, that's what's going to set this apart, along with the master classes that are coming. But now you can click on the mini master class that you like. It's broken down into sections. You've got the process here. You can scroll down, watch the video if you want. They're not very long. They're about 5 minutes each. And you can go and click on the PDF, and there you have all the notes for that specific mini master class. To me,
Hello, Lab Coats. Ryan Garson here from Compass and the owner of Very Social. I have the privilege of speaking with Ben Moss, also a Compass agent, and he is the president of the sports and entertainment division of Compass, which is honestly so big time. We have, Compass has over 30,000 agents, and I think in every major market they have a couple of agents or 1 or 2 main agents. And Ben is the president of that organization. He also has a very large team in Miami, has an amazing business. And he has a satellite office team, which we'll get into in Tampa. And he's sold apartments to all sorts of sports and entertainment, professional athletes, rappers, Venus Williams, Kevin Durant, Nelly Furtado, Rudy Gay. And I will say about Ben, he really runs his business not like your normal agent. He's also a coach. I think he really puts a lot of time in personal development with him and his team. Just really happy to have you on your show. How was that bio? How'd I do?
That was good. That was great. That was great. I appreciate it, Ryan.
Awesome. So I guess let's, kind of get right into it. You're the head of the sports and entertainment division of Compass. Could you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so we've got 130 plus members, agents at Compass who have qualified to be part of the division. They have to meet certain minimum criteria to be part of it. And we've got over 52 markets around the country covered. So we have really good geographic coverage around the country. So if we're, these players, these athletes, celebrities move around, they have multiple homes, they have to do a seasonal rental here, they want to buy a place for their mom over here, they want to build their dream house over here. So, it's like, we got to have the coverage for that. So we've got a really good, solid division.
That's great. So, you work with a lot of sports and, professional athletes, and, we're all realtors here. We're all working with our clients. And I think our clients are, we're in a market where it's like working with buyers and sellers, and it could be, some are easy, some are good. Like, what's it like working with athletes and entertainers? Are you working with them individually? Are you working with their agents? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, I've been doing it now long enough. Almost 20 years since my first entertainment client, which is actually a rapper who was renting a 1-month rental in Miami, and that was interesting. That was kind of fun. But Sometimes, yeah, you get referrals directly from the players, but a lot of times it's through the sports agents, the financial advisors, or the business managers, or the team, depending on if you have a team relationship. So those have been like the big four for me. And it's great when a client refers you to another client, of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like the referral source is like our agents, financial planners, and sports teams. Like, how do you build those relationships? How do you get in the same room as these people?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I haven't done a lot of cold calling in my days, like knocking on doors, but I've done a lot of cold calling in terms of getting in front of agents and that sort of thing. And the truth is, it's hard to get loyalty. I have some that basically turn to me for every player at this point in time. So, the great thing is they know they don't want to deal with an agent in St. Louis, an agent in Atlanta, an agent in Miami. They just want to deal with one agent who then goes out and does what has to get done, brings them the information that they need, because they're not making money on this stuff. And you got to think every sports agent, financial advisor is dealing with like 50 other clients and they're all peppering them with everything. So if we can make their life easier, and some agents and financial advisors really don't care. I mean, the financial advisors less, but some sports agents, like they're not involved at all in their clients' real estate or off the field stuff. If it's not marketing or contract work, they're out. So the real estate part doesn't happen that way. Other agents want to use that as a service. Like, hey, I'm involved in everything and I manage everything. So you got to know which agents are going to work well with you and which ones aren't. And then, you have some that already have well-established relationships with people like me, which you're not going to know going in. Sometimes they'll tell you, hey, I already work with somebody. There have been a couple of people that I've chased for 10 years, almost 7, 8, 10 years, just to get them to like return my call or go to lunch. I mean, so you got to play the long game. It's really building relationships, because one bad referral for them like costs them huge amount of money.
So I'm an agent, I'm a financial planner, and I'm interviewing other agents. Give me your sales pitch. Why should I work with Ben Moss?
Yeah, well, at this point, my sales pitch is a little easier than when I was starting out, because Compass, people have heard of that. I'm the national director of the sports entertainment division. I have, over 600 and counting, relationships and athletes. I'm have a lot of sales production. So I have like all these things that kind of stack up. I think in the beginning, it's more, as someone trying to break into that field, it's more just being there, being authentic and showing them, hey, look, I'm willing to follow up with you. So one of the business managers who finally, accepted my lunch invitation, he said, man, one thing I respect about you, Ben, is like, you just don't give up. Like, you've been after me for years. And I wasn't obnoxious about it, like every week, or I wasn't like laying down the guilt, making him feel bad about it. It was just more like, hey man, I'm still here. I'm still here. This is what I do, like showing consistency, and I think that's a lot of what it is. And so, once they develop the trust, they don't care what your sales numbers are. They don't care if you've done 1 deal or 100 deals. I mean, of course they want to make sure that you know what you're doing, but if you are authentic, if you're consistent, if they can trust you, then that's going to happen. There's no way they're going to hand over that level of relationship and refer their clients unless there's 100% trust. So it's no different than a lot of things, but it's a lot harder than I think the traditional relationship, because, everybody's after these people, everybody's after these clients, and it sounds sexy. And a lot of it's not that sexy, as Ryan, working with some high profile people, it's not that sexy. You got to deal with like layers of people, and they show up late a lot of times, and they change their mind, and they go from renting to buying to renting to buying. It's just, you got to love, like,
they move around a lot, so they transact.
They transact, but sometimes, it's like, man, some of them are just not worth it. Also, like some of them you just don't want as clients. You don't want all of them as clients. It's.
So how, I mean, this is their home, it's personal. But I guess they're busy and they have, their mindset is something that's probably a little bit different than just real estate. Like, how privy are they to, real estate? What are they looking for? Is it more just like about the living space? Are they looking at value? Are they looking at the numbers? Like, are they dealing more with their manager or their agent, like, than you? Like, how, like, what's the kind of like relationship with like the actual like clients, like the entertainers, the athletes?
Yeah, so it's all different. I mean, you see a lot of the younger ones predominantly lean on their sports agent and their financial advisor. Some of them, like, they don't even know how to have a phone call. I mean, they're like a business call. They're so shy. They might be this big imposing figure, but like, they're like a baby. They're like a middle schooler in terms of their communication skills. So it's not that they're rude or anything else. It's just that they don't feel confident in their own abilities to communicate what they want. They don't know what they don't know. So a lot of it is just instilling confidence in them. Like, hey, it's okay to ask. There's no dumb question. Like, you got to tell me how you feel, what you're thinking. Everything is on the table. Others, my executive assistant right now is out on the field right now with, a guy who's a rookie last year for the Dolphins, like stud, going to be one of the best players, I think future all pro in the league. And this guy's like on it, man. He is sharp. He wants to be involved. I mean, I've had very little dealings with his people, so to speak. I mean, this guy's taking accountability, and I love that, because I told him, I said, man, the fact that you're curious, the fact that you want to learn, that you're open, that you can communicate, it's like, it's awesome. Like, I love to see that. It's like a breath of fresh air, because he's a young cat, but others don't gain that kind of confidence. Some never do. And others don't gain it until they're second contract guys, until they're mid-20s or like late 20s or 30, when they start taking more responsibility. And then, like for this guy, we're just looking at something up to $600,000, nothing crazy. I mean, he's going to live next to somebody who's making a lot less money than him, but he's being very conservative with his money. By the same token, I have other players right now. We're looking at, $6 to $8 million, right? Or $10 million for one current Miami player that I'm working with on the Heat. So it's everything in between, and there's no one situation. I think that's the thing, is like, if we're going to work with these clients, we have to be very malleable. It's not like, if you deal with every accountant or every CPA or, doctor, like you can have some of the same conversations because you understand their lifestyle, but every athlete, different socioeconomic background, different race, different money that they're making, different upbringing, different things that they bring to the table, different fears, different level of confidence. So like, you kind of have to suss all that out and then deal with all the layers of people that are around them and communicate things to them and hear from them, because the client may not be telling you everything that's happening, or that because they don't know how to communicate it. So it keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of moving parts, and it sounds like you kind of have to be delicate. You have to listen, and I like what you said. You have to, give them confidence to like make the right decision, and then so they have confidence in you.
Yeah, one thing, Ryan, too, that I've always just naturally wanted to do, even when I was more a contemporary of theirs. Now I'm older than them, but when I was, contemporary of theirs and younger than them in some cases, like I never tried to be their buddy. It's always like, my thing was always like, how can I add value? How can I educate? There's a lot of people that want to be their buddy. If that happens, and it has happened, great. Like, I love that. But it's almost easier now because they kind of see me more as a mentor once they gain that trust with me. Like, hey, this guy's a real deal. He doesn't care that this is who I am. I can be open and honest with this person. But yeah, so it's just interesting. And like, I've always wanted to like add value, learn, educate. So
how are ways that you educate your clients? I think all agents want to add value and educate. So like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, that's what I was getting to. That's a good question. So, I mean, I think, one thing on our sports entertainment division, one thing that we've been talking about a lot as a division is, how do we educate? Do we want to do master classes? Do we want to do something else? And what we settled on is, no, we're going to launch a podcast. We're going to have our celebrity clients come on the podcast, and we're going to get out of them their story, like their real estate journey. What was their first deal? When did their journey in real estate begin? What does it look like? Is it helping them? What mistakes have they made? Like parsing that out so that the audience can be educated about and inspired also, and say, oh, this person made mistakes. I look up to them. Well, shoot, maybe I can give it a go. Maybe I can do this, and learning lessons throughout the podcast. So that'll be one thing that we're doing. Something that I've been doing for years is educating NFL teams. So going into NFL teams and presenting to rookies, teaching them about like credit scores. Why do credit scores matter? Like, what's a lease agreement? How, like the ins and outs, like very basic level kind of stuff. Or to sometimes more like what I enjoy more is educating the veterans who want to start investing in real estate, and they're not getting that information from their financial advisors, or they're not getting it from their agents. And so, it's like bringing in sometimes the right people to talk about that stuff and take them out into the field and say, hey, look, here's a 200 unit multifamily building. Here's the owner, here's the property manager. Let's tour the units. If you invest this much in the unit, how much can you bump up the rents? What's a cap rate? How do you calculate a cap rate? And like really going into the nuts and bolts to give them, we're not going to give them the whole thing right then in an hour or an afternoon. But we're whetting their appetite, and we're giving them resources. Hey, go check out David Green's book, Long Distance Real Estate Investing. Go look at this resource. Download Carl's calculator, which is a great mortgage calculator. You get to understand amortization tables and how a mortgage amortizes. Like all these things, there's so much, but it's just getting them on their journey. So I've loved that. I've been doing that for a long time. I was educating at the executive MBA program for the MBA program for artists and athletes when that was at the University of Miami, business combine. So like all those kind of things. I'm actually going to be publishing a book that I wrote for athletes, a real estate playbook for athletes later on this year. And it's not going to be a New York Times bestseller in the sense, but it's going to be more like a handbook for athletes. If you want to buy, you want to rent, you want to sell, or you want to invest, like pick it up and read those sections that are of interest to you. So I'm working on that as well, because I've just found over the years. There you go.
Good one right here.
I'm following your lead there, Ryan. Yeah.
The very social broker. I'm definitely going to be reading your book. That's for sure.
And that's a great book. Yeah, I've read your book and it's awesome. And I think it just, you feel good about it. You feel good about.
And I've seen your social media, taking it up a notch. Like you're doing a lot of video, and you're educating on social media too. I mean, I think education's so important. Whenever I take out a buyer, I'm always like, let's see properties. Sometimes you have to see the good to get to the bad. And, the more you see, the smarter that you're going to get. And it's like the more that, FaceTime that we have with them, like we're constantly educating, if it's not the neighborhood, it's like, the home that we're seeing, the value that like it comes with, like the square footage or, the renovation. So I think, educating is probably one of the best ways to sell.
For sure. And like, what better way when I go in to like meet with a room full of Miami Dolphins players, and I'm not pitching them on anything. And in fact, when I'm talking about investing, I'm like, look, I'm a realtor. I sell properties, right? But I'm not the realtor you want helping you invest in properties, because I don't work with investors. And they're like scratching their heads, like, what do you mean you don't work with investors? I say, you know what? I decided years ago, I don't want to work with investors. They're a pain in the ass, So I want to work with buyers and sellers and renters. Like there's a reason why they want to move their family. I like the emotional side of it. I like playing psychologist. I don't want to deal with the numbers people. I did commercial real estate and it didn't excite me. That's why I'm in residential. So I'm teaching them, like, so you want to work with or find a realtor who works with investors, find a realtor who hopefully also invests. If they work with investors, they're probably investors themselves. Why? Well, because they have a network. They have a network of property managers and handymen and contractors, everything that you need to be successful. And these guys are starting out, these athletes are starting out investing. And so they need that network. They don't have the time to do it. Like a lot of busy working professionals also, same thing. Like, so just, they never thought about that. They're like, oh, I thought you could help me. Nope, I'm not your guy for that. So, but will you sell my house then? Oh, I'll sell your house. Yeah, no problem.
There you go. So, everyone has a house to sell.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, switching gears a little bit. I want to talk about, the sports and entertainment division with Compass. You're the president. Like, how does that work? How does the network work? Like, how much time are you putting into it? Like, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a big lift. I mean, when I got off for the position, I turned it down because I said, no, I don't have time for this. Like that's, and then, like in that same phone call, the former director who was leaving Compass, he said, look, I told him, I said, you know what? He kept trying to convince me. And I said, you know what? Okay, fine. You know what? I can be a better leader. I can learn about leadership skills. If I have to run this division, then I'm going to learn how to be a better leader. And so I brought in a coach, to help me, Shirag, who well is also, and we started from the ground zero, like let's build the mission, the values. So we did a lot of heavy lifting. So I'd say probably, last year was like a good, depending on the week, but an average of maybe like 5-6 dedicated hours a week, not like you're on a Zoom call listening. And it's like, no, I'm leading the Zoom call. I'm doing the work, like the heavy lifting. This year it's been a little bit less, although now gearing up to launch this podcast, I'm putting in a lot of work. So it's a fair amount of time. Everything's a risk return, but I've definitely learned how to be a better leader. So I'm improving my skill set as a business person and as a leader, and it's fun. And I think it's one of those things that we want to turn this thing into, something that elevates the Compass brand and that, elevates the referrals going back and forth. And we have a lot of referrals going back and forth. So, I think first and foremost, it's a referral division. We see a lot of referrals going back and forth within the division because we understand, okay, like if I'm referring this client to an agent in Kansas City, well, this agent in Kansas City, I know has done a bunch of real estate deals with athletes and celebrities, understands the confidentiality, understands where the stadium is, understands where the practice facility is, knows what time they go and leave to the practice facilities to deal with traffic, understands the security concerns, like all these things, understands, hey, I'm not going to ask the client for an autograph and take a selfie and invite him over for barbecue. Like, no, the client doesn't want that. They just want the real estate service. And maybe they want to be educated along the way. Not all of them do. So the division is first and foremost that. And I think like a lot of networks that have spread it up within Compass, it's another network, but it's a little bit different because, there has to be a high basis for being able to be part of the division in terms of like the skill set that you have.
Yeah, no, it sounds like an amazing network where I'm sure there's just so many referrals passed along because there's a lot of professional athletes, there's a lot of entertainers, and they move around a lot. You know, there's free agency, there's trades. So I think like you guys are all kind of like dealing with the same type of client. It just makes sense to be able to refer each other back and forth.
Yeah, not all referrals are interdivision. I mean, I've referred plenty outside of the division as well, because ultimately it's about the right person. And Compass has so many right people. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're in the division or not, but generally there's an added comfort level there. And I think other things too, like the podcast that I mentioned, like wanting to change the narrative around the industry. Like it's not like, hey, we're just going to stick our logo on the back of the chair in Madison Square Garden and say we have a sports and entertainment division. Like we're not just going to have a splashy website and say, hey, we have a sports entertainment division. Like, what can we actually do? And I think that the calling that a lot of us have working with these clients, because we've seen it, like how sad it is, right? To deal with some of the situations that like clients should have all this money and now they're losing. Like, it's just crazy what you see. So it's like, no, we want to change that narrative and like leave this industry in a better place than when we started, you know?
Definitely. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about your team. You have a really interesting team. I know you're very active in the Miami market, but you also have, is it called like a satellite team in Tampa? And in Tampa, you guys are the official sponsor for the Buccaneers. So could you tell us a little bit about, you know, how you structure your team, how you work in two markets? Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, well, right now I'm in Vermont. I'm in my house in Vermont for the summer for actually like 4 months between Maine and Vermont. So in the last few years, really thanks to COVID, I've learned how to create certain structures that allows me to like be out of town and be creative. You know, like Jason, your cousin, who's part of my team. You know, he's between New York and Miami, and he's being creative, and he's making it happen that way. For me, it's like, yeah, living the lifestyle. So how do I have the right people that I can trust, first of all, and do this on a long-term basis with, and that get something, this is like a win-win. Like I'm hopefully bringing them in on deals and mentoring them and showing them some things. And they're also helping me transact with clients that I wouldn't be able to do because I want to be in, Vermont mountain biking this afternoon, and I can't do that in Miami. Right. So I think part of that was like hiring a director of operations last year, like really amplifying our manual, basically our operations manual, implementing that into the Compass platform and putting action plans around it so that it doesn't matter whether it's me or somebody else. Like we understand kind of how to onboard a buyer and how to communicate with this seller. And it's still a work in progress. I mean, I think it takes years to perfect that, honestly, but I think we're well on our way. So that's been a big part of it. And then, yeah, I've got in Tampa, we've got 3 team members up there. We're the official John Fincher and Eric Dungy and Mackenzie Blankenship. John and Eric are the official team realtors of the Tampa Bay Bucks, which is great branding for Compass as well, because they just launched Tampa last year or this year? So anyway, so that's
before Compass was in Tampa.
Well, that's true. Yeah. And then they officially launched it. And so, that's a 3-year partnership with the team. And there's certain things that go along with that. Like, it's cool to have events with, like, I know John and Eric had an event with a bunch of divorce attorneys in Tampa, and they were able to do it like on the pirate boat there. And then all the divorce attorneys were able to like go on the field and, play catch. And like, it's just a cool thing, and like an access point, get on the field 2 hours before kickoff with VIP clients. And so then there's, the ability to go in and educate the players, get referrals from the team. So it's kind of a multifaceted thing. And then being able to brand themselves and ourselves as the official team realtors of the Bucks, so there's different things like that going on as well. And that I wasn't looking to expand a team into Tampa, Ryan, or anything like that. It was just more my relationship and friendship with John Fincher. And then when I joined Compass, he's like, hey man, I'd love to, re-up with you and join Compass as well. And so let's do it. And so we did it, like you said, before there was an official Tampa office, but he was up there. And then Eric Dungy is actually Tony Dungy's son. And, he was a younger guy at the time. I mean, I think he's only like 30 now, but he was in his early to mid 20s and was looking for a mentor. And so it all just kind of happened organically. It wasn't like some scheme that I have to be in every market or anything like that, because I don't want to be. I don't want to have a huge team.
So, I know you're really into like mental health and, just staying positive and meditating. And I know you you work with your team on that too. Could you talk, and you're a coach, so could you talk a little bit about, how that mindset helps you as a real estate agent?
Yeah, one thing that you mentioned, which is interesting for anybody listening, like on the coaching side. So like I'm preaching to my team right now. In fact, we had our team call yesterday. I'm like, look, things are getting a little slower, right? Everywhere in the country. So what seeds could you be planting right now that would blossom into a flower or something like that 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? So one example about the coaching thing. So I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe longer, I got certified as a coach. It was a 300-hour program. It was pretty intense, like a lot of coaching. And it was good because I really learned a lot of skills. It helps me in my marriage, with my kids, in business, everything, like the skills you learn through coaching. But I wasn't like going to be a coach. And then as it turns out, through some athlete relationships, I'm going to be coaching 5 athletes now and getting paid for it this year through a good friend of mine who has started something called Pro Athlete Community and Next Chapter U. And so basically he's taken the tuition reimbursement dollars that NFL players receive and partnered up with the University of Miami as it works out geographically, which is great for me. And that's my alma mater. And so part of that program is like getting life skills into these guys so that they can transition from playing to not playing. So I'm going to be curating the real estate part of that, which is great. But then there's a coaching element as well. And knowing that I'm a certified professional coach, he asked me if I want to coach them. And I said, heck yeah, man. Like I would love that opportunity to do that. So, it's just a fun thing. And then I think within the team, like Brendan Burchard says it, I steal this from him all the time, which is like, it's not a motivation problem. It's a focus problem. So how do I get myself focused? Like I didn't start meditating to be some guru on a mountaintop or in a forest monastery. It was more just so I could sleep at night and deal with my anxiety, not take Xanax. So I started meditating like probably around 29. And then I realized, oh shit, like I'll do 5 days a week. I started ramping up, and then it's become, a decade and plus later, it's like, no, this is the most important thing I can do every day, and I meditated today a little bit, but I went on an hour mountain bike ride this morning through the woods. Like that was meditative because the only thing I was doing was being fully present, making sure I'm not crashing at every turn, and so there's many things that bring us in. But I think the idea with meditation is that you really learn to observe the mind, which is different than when you're mountain bike riding or working out or painting or anything that brings you into the current moment. Those things are great, but I think meditation is like flexing, like lifting a weight. Like every time you do a rep, you get stronger. Every time the mind wanders and you bring it back, like that's the win. That's your mind getting stronger. And ultimately how it impacts you in real life is just that you start catching the impulses and, like Viktor Frankl talks about, like creating the space between, or the gap between the stimulus and the response. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic, the old me was like, the middle finger was up, like it just was, even though I was like meditating and doing all this stuff. But then years later into it, I started realizing like, oh, I have a choice. The middle finger doesn't have to go up. I don't have to get angry. And like, I haven't shot a middle finger in a long time, which I'm proud to say, but
and you drive on 95.
If you drive in Miami, like it's easy to get pissed off very fast, right? So that was like the last straw. That was like the last thing that
easy
really
to get pissed off as a real estate agent.
Yeah, now
I feel like having this positive mindset and being mentally strong, it can make you much healthier. Otherwise,
you're not like going.
It can get stressful and there's a lot of ups and downs.
A lot of ups and downs. Yes, I don't sweat the downs, and I also don't get as high on the highs because I realize like I have context. I have greater awareness. I feel like of like what the true essence of life is. And but I would say it's a journey. Like meditation is probably the strongest. I like breath work. I like gratitude practice. I like all these things, but I think meditation is like the key way to understand the nature of the mind. We'll talk about psychedelics another time, but.
All right. Before we go, give me a celebrity story.
A celebrity story. Okay. So
a celebrity real estate story.
Without naming names, a couple of years ago, very high profile player that I got through his sports agent. So I'm like, okay, this is like a young cat, got his family flying in, he's coming in with them. So I had like the sprinter with the driver, like everything was like totally planned out. Was able to line up all the showings, had like a lunch reservation. Mom calls me the night before. Oh, sorry, I changed the plans. This happened 3 times the night before. So like you can imagine, like first pissed off, like I can't believe this is happening again. Am I the chump? Like what's going on here? Are they shopping around? Are they actually coming with other realtors? Like don't know what's happening. And so like all the realtors now that I'm canceling appointments with are getting, pissed off because they're like, dude, like what the heck's going on? So I'm like, please, it's not gonna happen again. Just because I got to deliver, I got to perform for this guy. Right. So long story short, like he never ended up coming, but one of the house, his parents did. And one of the houses I showed them, he ended up buying, but not before another realtor had gotten involved. And I had to deal with that situation. The way it all turned out is I sold the house. The other realtor backed away and did not sell the house, and it got done. But man, like talk about stress. And I was like, okay, like great. I got some press around it and all this kind of stuff, but I don't know, was it worth it? I don't know. Like, I still don't know if it was worth it because the stress that I went through for that. But then there's all the other stories of like, you know, like the parents stealing from their NBA star basketball son, like stealing money, literally stealing money, and like just you know, getting a birthday cake for herself, for the mom and herself and all her friends when she came into Miami. It was like it was a very graphic birthday cake. I won't say what it was, but like think of body parts, think of male body parts, and like on the yacht. And I was like, you got to be kidding me with this stuff. I mean, it's just. And then, you know, the rappers that show up with their entourage of like 4 cars at like the most chic condo building in South Beach, and like the doors open, it's just like,
Oh
just
my
like
God.
weed smoke. And I'm like, oh, like, you know.
Yeah, I've never shown an apartment with an entourage. It sounds fun, but you know, probably not the easiest.
Yeah, no, this dude's an interesting guy. And oh, and then there was one. So I'll mention this one. So Floyd Mayweather, I never actually sold him a house because he has a realtor that he works with, but he had at the time we thought there might be a way that we would work with him. So anyway, showed him one of my listings on Miami Beach. He left like, I don't know, a $50,000, $100,000 watch next to the laptop. I think planted it there. So like chased him down in traffic on Alton Road, get out. He gets out of the car. He's like, that was a test just to make sure, you know, I can trust you. I was like, dude, you were willing to like give up a $50,000, $100,000 diamond encrusted watch just for a test? And I was like, but same dude that would take a duffel bag getting out the valet and start handing all the valet guys like $500, duffel bag of cash, you know? So yeah, you kind of see it all after
Miami Beach,
man. Yeah.
But listen, thank you so much. I think everybody really took a lot out of this. I think my biggest takeaways were like, you know, educating your client, not really trying to be buddy with them. You know, this is a job, it's a profession, like, you know, add value to what they do. And I think it's just interesting, you know, I think everybody has a certain like target market that they go after. And, you know, to hear your perspective on, you know, the sports and entertainment and celebrities, it's not something that we probably get, you know, work with every day, but you do, and that's pretty awesome. So like, thank you so much for sharing your stories and all the wealth of information, and have a good day.
For sure, man. Yeah, great to chat with you, Ryan. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.